with them after the service to ask that question. Strengthening our communication and interconnectedness. Thank you to everyone who answered the very, very short poll related to Mission Objective 3 on interconnectedness this past Sunday. The poll results were posted in this week's happenings, and from that, we conclude that we have a strong foundation for communicating together in our work. We will be exploring how we can further improve our communication and team building in the coming months, starting with an update to how we use the whiteboard in the main sanctuary foyer for announcements and important committee work. Not only will these changes improve the appearance of this space in conjunction with Operation Facelift, but it will allow more effective posting of information and sign-up sheets. Expect a new look to be revealed in April. If you have any questions or concerns, please see our very own Queen of Organization, Robin Carter. Under sharing what is good here in the wider world, we are committing to making this a place of thriving for one another and sharing that with a world that badly needs this kind of love, mutual aid, and humanity. Please note in your happenings and connect how you can support a family in Gaza seeking to find refuge. May we all, in all parts of our life, strive to create a world of mutual thriving for every one of us. I am getting ready to invite my friend, Andy Gillum, chair of our Leadership Development Committee, to come forward to share an announcement with us. I am going to pre-announce his announcement with some comments of my own. Andy is coming forward to ask you how you can serve. He wants to know where our next leaders will come from. What skills do you need to lead this congregation? You do not have to crochet as well as I do. You do not have to speak as many languages as Seher. You do not have to be able to announce as thoroughly and as joyfully as JD. But here's what you need. You have to love this place. If you're new here and you're not sure if you completely love this place, give it some time. But if you are sitting there and you love this place and you need this place to be here, figure out what it is that you can do to sustain it. That includes your gift of time, your financial commitment, and the gifts of your skills. Andy's going to come forward and talk to you about spaces on the Committee of Ministry, Leadership Development, Endowment, and the Board of Trustees. Any more? Did I get it? That's it. If you have any questions about what it is like to serve as leader, please come and talk to me. I will be available in my office after the service. Andy will be available to take all of the folks that come running to him after the service. Seher is here, our incoming president, who is just phenomenal. Any other board members? Any other committee members? Please talk to us. The call is now.
First, I'd like to thank all of our current leaders, including Mel, Seher, everyone that was mentioned. So we can't do this without you guys, so thank you. As was just announced, as is in the bulletin, May 19th is our annual meeting, and that is when we select our elected leadership for the coming church year. As Chair of Leadership Development, my committee and I are responsible for putting together the slate of candidates for everyone to vote on. Another part of our job is to sort of let everyone know what those jobs mean, what those leadership roles entail. Chris Kristeniak, who's sitting back over there, has made this wonderful chart that shows all of the current positions that are open and kind of some blurbs about exactly what is required of those. Briefly, there's more that can be found by asking someone maybe who serves in that role now, also in our bylaws, plenty of other places, but some very general descriptions of these roles is here. And so as Mel briefly mentioned, we're going to need this year a president-elect. We will also need a secretary. We need 2 trustees at large, board members. We also need, I think, 1 role in the Committee on Ministry, also the Endowment Fund, and we've got 1 role open on the Leadership Development Committee. So these are all the voted positions. We have a lot of other committees and other opportunities to serve, but these are the ones that we will elect in May. So if you have any questions, this will be living out in the lobby for the next couple of months, so you can consult this, or as Mel mentioned, you can approach me or anybody else on the leadership committee, Riley Lanier, Chris Kristeniak, Janice Tuck, I think Janice is here, Tracy Stapleton, or you can email me at leaderdev, LEADERDEV, @uucs.org. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Paula Swaney, and I'll be serving as your worship associate this morning. Our chalice lighting this morning is accompanied by a reading from Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. Do you already know that your existence, who and how you are, is in and of itself a contribution to the people and place around you? Not after or because you do some particular thing, but simply the miracle of your life, that the people around you and the places have contributions, and that the people around you and the places have contributions as well. Do you understand that your quality of life and your survival are tied to how authentic and generous the connections are between you and the people and place you live with and in? Are you actively practicing generosity and vulnerability in order to make the connections between you and others clear, open, available, durable? Generosity here means giving of what you have without strings or expectations attached. Vulnerability means showing your needs.
If you'll turn in your gray hymnals to hymn number 112, Do You Hear?
tears, all the sighs, all the prayers, they are yours, mine and theirs. Do you hear? Do you hear? Forgive me for so quickly repeating a portion of our chalice lighting, but it fits so well with this portion of our conversation. Are you actively practicing generosity and vulnerability in order to make the connections between you and others clear, open, available, and durable? Generosity here means giving what you have without strings or expectations attached. Vulnerability means showing your needs. And now I'd like to invite you to come forward if you wish and if you're able to place a stone or shell in the water of our rippling bowl to represent how you generously share your joys or trust this community with the needs that make you vulnerable. I'll place one of each for those who are joining us virtually.
How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Good morning, everybody. Folks that are joining, members, come on up, please. First, I'm going to introduce, they've been here for a while now, John and Brenda Groves.
Hi, I'm John Groves. Brenda and I have been members of many different churches and denominations, but when we came to the UU Church, we really saw a fresh perspective on inclusivity and social justice and acceptance that we really liked. So that's why we want to join.
We've been coming as friends for a while now, and like Mel said, you begin to love this place, and I just so, Mel likes to be quoted, so. Apparently. But I find the people here to be so warm and caring, and most of all, open-minded, and I'm just really happy to officially be a member. Thank you.
Let me introduce Linda Brights.
Hi, family. I'm grateful to be here, and I also have another name on my tag, which is Dear Linda. If you can't pronounce Dear Linda, you can certainly call me Linda. I won't be offended. And I had a speech, and I forgot it at home. But anyways, I want to thank everyone. I'm really, really excited about being a member here. I'm originally from Connecticut. I've been to many, many churches here. And I've come to here several times, and I felt the love and the warmth in this community. And I could be who I am today without any judgment. And that I am very, very, very grateful. Thank you.
I don't know this fella's name. I think we call him Chucky Baby.
I like it here, so I decided it's time to rejoin again. Thanks.
Next is Grace Schwartz.
Hi, everybody. I'm Grace Schwartz, and me and my husband, Spencer, who couldn't be here today with us, are really looking forward to joining the church. We moved to Spartanburg in 2020, that joyous year, and it's taken us some time to get to know the community and put down roots, and we're just so happy to have found a place with so many kindred spirits. So thank you for having us.
Next is Amanda Kuykendall.
She's been practicing my name. I said, just say Amanda, it's okay. But my grandmother was Margaret Ezel. I don't know if y'all know her. My mother, Deborah Ezel. I'm happy to join. I'm new to the area, and I told Ann I wasn't going to talk, but I'm happy to be here. They've always been welcoming to me. I got married here. We just had my grandmother's service here, so I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you.
I'll ask the congregation to stand, please. Congregation will read what it says congregation reads, and the new members will reply. We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg, joyfully welcome you as once we were welcomed ourselves. We pledge to support you on your journey, as we hope you will support us in our own. We welcome you as an equal member of this church and of this Unitarian Universalist tradition.
We
We offer you the warmth and comfort of this church community. We are grateful for your strengths and talents. We strive to protect us and demonstrate the oneness of humanity by sharing our joys and our sorrows, ever seeking to grow in kindness. We go this way together. Now our covenant. With courage we say, we are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. Welcome our new members. Now comes the time in our service where we greet one another. Remember, some folks don't want you hugging all over them. Some folks want you slobbering all over them. And don't scare our new members, please. Welcome.
Each week, we all contribute to this community with a multitude of gifts. Gifts of time, talent, energy, perspective, knowledge, opinions, and love. And the generosity of this congregation is incredible. Now's the time where we contribute as we can with our financial gifts. This month, we'll share half of unmarked funds and all marked funds from our offering plate with the International Convocation of Unitarian Universalist Women. More information about this organization can be found under the Justice section of the Connect at the back of your order of service. The offering will now be freely given and gratefully received. From the great Maya Angelou, there is an African-American song from the 19th century which is so great, and it says, "When it looked like the sun will not shine anymore, God put a rainbow in the clouds." Imagine, I've had so many rainbows in my clouds. I've had a lot of clouds, but I've had so many rainbows. And one of the things I do when I step up to the stage, when I stand up to translate, when I go to teach my classes, when I go to direct a movie, I bring everyone who has ever been kind to me. Black, white, Asian, Native American, gay, straight, everybody. I say, come with me. We are going to the stage. Come with me. I need you now. They all did, you see, so I don't ever feel I have no help. I've had rainbows in my clouds, and the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so that you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all. You see, they may not eat the same dishes prepared the way you do. may not dance your dances or speak your language, but be a blessing to somebody. That's what I think.
Join me in silence. Bless the world. This winter, we launched a new plan for our congregation. And this month, we have been thinking together about how the heck do we do this? I was in a meeting of one of our committees just this week, and one of our elected leaders, the one that Mel is inviting you to be also, sat at table in that meeting and said, how are we going to do this? I seriously do not know how we're going to do the things that we say we're going to do. And I heard someone else also saying, I don't know how we're going to do this. And they're right. They don't know how we're going to do this. And the other person also is right. They don't know how we're going to do this. We have spent 2 years talking with each other and discerning with each other and thinking with each other and developing ideas and building energy and resources and momentum to launch ourselves into we don't know what. And not only not what, but not how. This seems very risky, even dangerous. Change is not easy, and change is disruptive. It can fracture us from each other. But in conversation, in that meeting, and in another meeting, and another, what we found was that just by talking through how much we didn't know, how much we can't foresee or anticipate, we find ways forward. We find next steps. It feels dangerous. It feels risky. It feels uncomfortable. But when we marry with all of our ambitions and skills and strengths and gifts, when we marry with all of those assets, also our vulnerability, our unknowing, we find a way. It's a paradox. It seems like it shouldn't work. We're supposed to show up with confidence in the world, strong resumes and strong salaries and forging a path forward, right? Up by our own bootstraps. I hate it too. When the Yoda of your congregation says, I hate that, you should listen to what they are saying. She even dressed in green with little ears on her jacket today. Yeah. I love gifts and strengths. I love confidence. These are assets. They're real, and I want them for each of us, for all of us. And they're just not the whole story. They're not our whole personhood. Rather than suppress the unknown or the fearful, the risky, if we bring it into, here's the damn word, dialogue, when we bring these things together, there's a different kind of power that is unleashed. This week also, a person said to me, I feel like such a failure. And they explained why. And another person said to me, I feel like such a failure. And they also explained why. And a third person sat in my office and said, I feel like such a failure. And we talked about why. The struggles that these people face are very real. In no way would I want for them to hear me diminish what they face. It's real. The setbacks and challenges, the failures, they're real. But just by saying, this is what has happened, just by saying, I feel this way about myself, they step out of whatever has happened into connection. And they energize that connection by calling out compassion, by calling out wisdom, by calling out possibility. Not that they know themselves. They don't. It's real. But that they hope someone else might. They risk being turned away or misunderstood at the possibility of finding a path. And we don't know what the path will be. But here we are on a new day. This far, we found the future. And there will be a tomorrow also. Vulnerability is a source of connection and power. It's a contradiction, a paradox, but it is so real. And we tell ourselves stories to try to teach ourselves to choose this, to live into it. And it's so frightening that even the stories get whitewashed, get covered over, get turned into something else. Let me give you an example. This week begins Holy Week for Christians. And in this week, people will urge one another to believe in a superhero God. Now, you may believe in that superhero God, and that's great. Or you may not, and that's great. And you may not be sure, and that's great. Because believing in whatever the mix of humanity and divinity is absolutely not the point of that story. Even though religious leaders and theologies have insisted that it is for millennia. And the way we know that's not the point of the story is because that's not the damn story. The story is about failure. It's about a person who trusts so deeply in the power of love that they fail in the name of love. And I'm not talking about sweet love. I'm not talking about sentimental love. I mean love as a choice for your enemies. Think about the risk. Think about the danger. And the story, whatever any of us believe about it, whatever we believe, that's not the point. What the story asks is, would you risk that amount of vulnerability for the power of love? And what the story says is even death is no match for that vulnerability and power, for that love. In a couple of weeks, those of us who are Jewish will celebrate Passover. This is a story of vulnerability. It gets turned into a story of conquest. The story of Judaism is to be blessed in order to be a blessing, to be of service to the world. And the reminder constantly at the Passover Seder, in every Haggadah, every retelling of that story at a meal, is remember that you were slaves in Egypt. And so treat the people in your country as you would want to be treated. The widow, the orphan, the stranger in your midst, you remember what your life was. Remember your vulnerability. And treat those who are vulnerable as the ones of greatest privilege. That's the story. You are blessed with liberation to liberate others. We're in Ramadan right now. And Ramadan is a story of vulnerability. A man at midlife goes off alone to try to make sense of his life, to meditate. And in the revelation that breaks over him, the message he receives is, because there is one reality, so we must live together, not as tribes at war with each other, but together as a unified community that cares for each other. This message is so powerful that he goes right to the heart of his people to preach it. And it is so disruptive that they go right to the work of trying to kill him. Absolute vulnerability. All of these stories say that when we live, not only in our skills and our assets and our gifts, but also in the very real danger of life, the high risk of failure, when we choose our vulnerability, immense power wells up, a transformative power in the world. And if this all sounds like a bunch of history or theology, a bunch of religiosity, if you really don't believe me that I'm really okay with whatever you believe or don't believe because what matters is how you live, if you don't believe me, then just listen to the practicality of it. Imagine this. Imagine the difference it would make in the lives of the children of Gaza right now if nations that claimed a Christian background chose to love their enemies, if nations that claimed a Jewish background chose to welcome the stranger in their midst as an equal, if nations that chose Islam as their background acted not as guardians of borders, but chose to unify instead, to provide exit for people desperately seeking refuge. And if we are in danger of looking halfway around the world and pointing a finger of blame, imagine if in our own country, politicians talked about loving our enemies instead of bloodbaths, or talked about loving the stranger in our midst instead of othering. or allowed people desperately seeking refuge to find haven in our home. The world is real. The need to defend ourselves is real. I'm not talking about pie-in-the-sky politics. But the marriage of our strengths with our vulnerabilities is transformative. And when I look at the world, it just doesn't seem to work well to only play our strengths. It seems actually to vastly expose our vulnerabilities. The opportunity we have is to choose both. To use both as assets. To draw from both our strengths and our weaknesses a greater power. That is not only for ourselves, but for everyone. Especially those who would do us harm. How are we going to do this? How will we bless this world?
If you'll turn in your gray hymnals to hymn number 203.
From the Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. May we create a just and equitable world where privilege isn't a prerequisite for self-expression and authenticity, where everyone feels invited and safe to express their power and their vulnerability.
Somebody at the start of the service said, "There's too much in this service." They were right. Here's some more. After the service today, Ann Garner, who serves here so generously and faithfully and also works for the Children's Advocacy Center in town, is going to lead a training in child protection called Darkness to Light. I don't know if there are other spaces, but I want you to know that it's happening here. That is an example of claiming vulnerability, the danger to children in congregations, which we know all too well, and trying to turn it into a source of power and strength. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, there's going to be a reception here in the sanctuary for the photographer who has blessed us with these amazing photographs. They're so beautiful. If you are interested in meeting the person, if you're a photographer yourself, if you just want to come and eat the food that other people are freely offering you, then come. And what a sign of strength and vulnerability. We had a class this morning about the pervasiveness of plastics in our world, in all of the ecosystems where these creatures live. Thank you to the team that honors them and us by having those here. Come at 2. And then if you look at the very back of your bulletin, you'll see Maya Angelou's rainbow. There's a position announcement that I just want to call your attention to in case you know someone who might be interested in this, who might be a good candidate. We've opened our search for a director of religious education. For 2.5 months, our religious education team and our personnel committee and our board have talked about what we seek in this person, and we've made a shift for this position to focus especially on children and their families, and then also to be part of a team that will require us to create a youth committee that is focused on youth, to provide programming just for our youth, and a committee that works focused on adult education as well. This is a new conception coming out of all the discernment and dialogue we've done, out of our mission, vision, covenant process. It is a challenge to shift a position. It's a challenge to shift how we think. You know, for our current director of religious education, Sybil Argentar, who announced her retirement at the start of this year so that she could be with us and guide us all through this year, it's a shift, a vulnerable shift, to design a position that is different than the one you inhabit currently. If you know someone who you think is a good candidate for this, please put this in their hands and tell them that we would like to know about them. We would like to meet them. All the instructions are there. One more example of how vulnerability becomes a strength. And when you see Sybil, the members of the RE committee, I want to ask you to hug them and thank them for caring so much about this congregation that they would risk a change to help us find our future. Embracing earth, you, day by day, bring forth your blessings on our way. All you of understanding heart, forgiving others, take your part.